Hi there. It's April the 10th, and today we're marking a very important transition in our journey through scriptures from one section of the Hebrew scriptures into another. We're closing the journey we've been doing through the Torah with Deuteronomy chapter 34, and we're moving on into the next section of scriptures as we come to Joshua 1. Now, Deuteronomy 34, this last chapter, is really the appreciation of who Moses is, this servant of God. Moses is called up Mount Nebo, and there he dies, but not before God has shown him the whole of the land, from north to south, from east to west, kind of a mini supernatural tour that Moses has. And God says, this is the land that I'm going to give to people, but you're not going to cross over into it. And we're told that there's been no one like Moses who has had such close communion with God, who has communed with God panim al panim, as it says in the Hebrew, face to face. In fact, it says in the Hebrew that Moses dies al pi Adonai, by the mouth of God. One scholar that I heard talked about the idea of God kissing Moses into death, that it's actually the mouth of God that breathes and speaks Moses' death, and also buries him there in the plains of Moab. But now that Moses has gone, Joshua is going to be left, and he is the one who will now lead the people on. Now, as we cross into Joshua, because we're looking at the first two chapters of Joshua as well, we're actually crossing, as I say, from Torah, that first 5 books of the Bible, the constitution, as it were, the guidance, the nurture of the people. We're now crossing into what Hebrew scriptures understand as the prophets. You may say, well, that's strange. We didn't know that Joshua was in the prophets. We normally think about the prophets as coming later. But Joshua, Judges, Samuel, and Kings are classed by Hebrew scriptures as being the Nevi'im Rishonim. That means the first or the former prophets. And then the Nevi'im Achronim, the latter prophets, are those from Isaiah and Jeremiah and the rest of the prophets on. So we've come here to Joshua chapter 1, and the opening of Joshua is God speaking to Joshua and saying, now you're leading the people of Israel. You're going to take them into the promised land. Only be strong and of good courage. And the second part of Joshua chapter 1, Joshua actually reminds the tribes of Reuben and Gad and the half-tribe of Manasseh, who have settled east of the Jordan, he reminds them of their promise that they are going to come across the Jordan with the rest of the people of Israel. The fighting men are going to fight, even though they're leaving their livestock and their families back east of Jordan, where they've settled in the lands of Sihon and Og. Now, in Joshua chapter 2, Joshua now sends out 2 spies. Remember, Joshua was one of the spies himself with Caleb, who went out 40 years before to spy out the land and brought back a good report. These 2 spies go, and they go to the settlement of Jericho, which is also called the City of Palms. And there they find their way to an inn, a place run by Rahab, who is a harlot. She's probably a shrine prostitute. But she's also an innkeeper, and so they are taken in by her, and she realizes that these people are coming from this great group of people, this great exodus of people who are on the other side of the Jordan, and she knows that these people are going to sweep into Canaan and are going to take over the land. And so she actually does something very interesting. Because she has given them hospitality, and not only that, but she hides them from the king of Jericho. When he comes looking for these spies who he hears are in the land, Rahab actually protects them. And because she's done that, she sees herself as being in a covenant with them. She has done a covenant action. She's put her life at risk for their sake. And so she claims the protection, or she claims the action of what is a very well-known Hebrew word, chesed. And we've mentioned this word before in Scripture. But she's not an Israelite. She's not a Jew. She's actually a Gentile. She is a Canaanite. But she understands covenant, and therefore she claims chesed. She wants this obligation of covenant to cover her and her family, that when the people of Israel come in and destroy Jericho, that she and her family and everyone in her house should be protected. And so the spies agree that they will protect her and they make a vow, they make a covenant with her, that they will show her hesed, and emet is the other word. Emet is a word that goes with hesed, often means truth or faithfulness or reliability. In other words, we will do hesed, we will do covenant obligation and faithfulness and truth to you. They promise this to Rahab. However, they say there's only one condition. You have to hang from the window a scarlet thread, a scarlet twine, so that we know which house it is. And there's a little bit of a word play here in Hebrew, because the word for scarlet thread in Hebrew, tikvat hashani, means also a scarlet hope, because the word tikva in Hebrew means hope. So there's something expressed of the hope that is there, that there's this reliance on the word of the spies that are given to her. And so the scene is set as the spies return and they escape from Jericho for the people of Israel to come in. But Rahab, because of her appeal to hesed, because of her appeal to covenant, is going to be protected by this scarlet hope, this scarlet thread. We also are protected by a hope, by a scarlet thread of blood of our Messiah Jesus, and we know that he is protecting us with his hesed, with his covenant obligation that he has promised to us. Have a very good April the 10th.